It's not your salary. It's not avocado toast. The real reason you can't afford a home is a 40-year policy decision that was made before you were born. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Right now, the average American home costs over 7 times the median household income. In 1980, it was less than 4 times. Your parents bought their first house at 25. You're 32, making decent money, and you still can't afford a starter home in a decent neighborhood. But here's what nobody's telling you. This isn't an accident. This isn't a natural market cycle. This was engineered. Let's go back to 1981. Ronald Reagan takes office. Interest rates are at 18%. The housing market is frozen. Nobody's buying. So the government makes a choice that will quietly reshape the American dream for generations. They decide housing shouldn't just be shelter anymore. It should be an investment vehicle, a financial asset, a way to build wealth. Sounds good, right? Homeownership as wealth building. That's the American dream. But here's the catch. When you turn homes into investments, you create a massive conflict of interest because investments need to go up in value. Shelter needs to stay affordable. You can't have both. So what did they do? They rigged the game to make sure housing prices would keep rising forever. First, the tax code. Mortgage interest deductions, capital gains exemptions on primary residences, tax breaks for real estate investors. Suddenly, the entire tax system is designed to reward people who already own homes. Then came the zoning laws. Cities across America made it illegal to build anything except single-family homes in most neighborhoods. Can't build apartments, can't build townhouses, can't increase supply. And when you restrict supply while demand keeps growing, prices have nowhere to go but up. But that's just the beginning. In 2008, the housing market crashes. Banks nearly collapse. Millions lose their homes. You'd think this would be the reset, the moment housing becomes affordable again. It wasn't, because the Federal Reserve did something unprecedented. They dropped interest rates to basically zero, and they kept them there for over a decade. Cheap money flooded the system, but it didn't go to regular people buying homes. It went to investors. Wall Street firms, private equity, hedge funds. They borrowed millions at near zero interest and started buying up single-family homes by the thousands. In some cities, investors now own over 30% of all single-family rentals. They're not buying homes to live in. They're buying them to rent out, to hold as assets, to squeeze every dollar out of the American dream. And here's where it gets really dark. These institutional investors don't just buy homes. They use algorithms to set rent prices. They coordinate with each other. They reduce supply on purpose to drive prices up. There's literally software called RealPage that helps landlords collude on pricing. Multiple lawsuits right now are calling it a cartel. Meanwhile, you're competing against billion-dollar hedge funds paying cash. You need a mortgage. They don't. You need somewhere to live. They need returns for their shareholders. Guess who wins? But even that's not the full story, because here's what really breaks the system. In most of America, your local property taxes fund your local schools. Wealthy neighborhoods with expensive homes have great schools. Poor neighborhoods don't. So parents are willing to pay almost anything to get into a good school district. It's not even about the house anymore. It's about access. And wealthy homeowners know this, so they fight tooth and nail against any new housing development, because more homes means more families. More families means more crowded schools, lower test scores, lower property values. It's called NIMBY, not in my backyard. And it's turned homeownership into a zero-sum game where your gain is someone else's loss. The entire system is now designed to protect people who already own homes at the expense of everyone else. Think about what this means for actual people. Teachers can't afford to live in the districts where they teach. They're commuting 2 hours each way. Nurses, firefighters, the people we called heroes during the pandemic, they can't afford to live in the communities they serve. Young couples are giving up on having kids because they can't find stable housing. Millennials are living with roommates into their late 30s, not because they're lazy, because a one-bedroom apartment costs $2,500 a month. Generational wealth is concentrating. If your parents don't own a home, your chances of owning one yourself just dropped by 60%. The ladder is being pulled up, and most people don't even realize why. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Our entire economy is now dependent on housing prices going up forever. Banks hold trillions in mortgage debt. Retirement accounts are invested in real estate. Local governments fund themselves through property taxes. The stock market is packed with home builders and mortgage companies. If housing prices actually became affordable again, if they dropped by 40% to match historical norms, the entire financial system would be at risk. So policymakers are trapped. They can't let prices fall, but they also can't let an entire generation get locked out of homeownership. So what do? Nothing. They tinker around the edges. First-time buyers credits, tiny subsidies, programs that sound good but change nothing. Because the people making the decisions are the same people who benefit from high home prices. And it's not just America. Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, all of them have the same problem. All of them made the same choice in the 1980s and 90s. Housing as investment, housing as wealth, housing as a financial product. And now an entire generation is paying the price. This isn't a housing crisis. It's a policy crisis, a choice crisis. We chose to prioritize the wealth of existing homeowners over the stability of future generations, and we keep choosing it every single day. So the next time someone tells you you can't afford a house because you're bad with money, or because you didn't work hard enough, or because you wasted money on coffee and streaming services, remember this: the game was rigged before you ever sat down at the table. It's not your fault you can't afford a house. It's the result of 40 years of policy choices designed to turn shelter into profit. The real question is, are we going to keep pretending this is normal? Or are we finally going to demand something different? Because the American dream shouldn't be a luxury. It should be a right. And right now, it's for sale to the highest bidder.